Hello and welcome back to another video. Today, as you can see from the title, we'll be doing a Lorac Swatch party. I've been wanting to do this since apparently June. That's what it says in my little notes app here. That's when I wrote this. So, you know, procrastination at its finest. But yeah, this will be ranked by what I actually could use for an extended period of time, not necessarily how much I use the palette, because I don't think that's a good ranking if we did it that way, because the ones that I primarily use is the Meraki and the Fairy Tale Forest, but I only use them for like 2 shades, so that's not a good ranking when it doesn't actually count the entire palette. I did do a Nabla palette ranking. Those included a lot more palettes. There's like what, 8 cuties, and I have 7 of them. Only 6 in that video because I didn't get the nude one until later, though I did rank it in that one and I was correct with my ranking. You can see the swatch video and the ranking. They're 2 separate videos, but they'll be linked down below. And yeah, that had a lot more palettes. This, I only have 4. So, you know, they're all kind of the best, but let's just rank it. Okay, so when asked the question, which could I use for an extended period of time and without any other palettes, like I had to use this for a straight month, nothing else, what could I get out of this? Could I do my everyday? Does it have my, you know, skin tone shades? What could I do with this? 4th would be Soleil. Now, you may be looking at this and you may be going, because I do have overlays going on, hopefully. What? Why? Huh? How? It's amazing. It looks pretty. I will give you that, especially the mattes. I never swatch the mattes in any palette that I ever get. I usually just swatch the shimmers and go about my day. But I finally swatched the mattes and they look so good on my arm. I've used the mattes before. I've used the entire palette before, but I never swatched all of them to see them in action. So besides the couple of mattes that I did use, I didn't know how any of the rest of them looked. But yeah, this is my reasoning for it and what I wrote down. I wrote, there are only 2 looks I can get out of this palette and they'll both be orange. While it's not a bad thing, this isn't a palette I'd be satisfied using solely for an extended period of time. Although that middle shade on the shimmer side is top tier, which it is. That one I actually remember the name for. It's Mirage. These are magnetic palettes and I just put the shade names behind it because you can poke them out with the little key that they have in them. So yeah, I actually know the names, and the names do exist, but they're not on the actual inside of the palette, so, you know, ignore that. I just stuck my finger in what? No, I like this one. Look at what I just, oh no. Well, you can see how deep the pan is. You get a lot of product. Oh God, that needs to go back in there. No. I just used that shade today. This is literally the shade that I used almost all over my eye because I wanted it to be nice and shimmery and stand outish and oh God, okay, I will be back. Well, it'll be a lot easier to pan that shade now. But anyways, this is all of the mattes and this is all of the shimmers. You saw the swatches already, most likely. I don't really have a reasoning besides I wouldn't wear these tones on a daily basis. There's nothing over here that is brown besides this one dark brown, and these are deeper on the eyes than they are in the pan, so this is like basically black. So I would only use that for liner. Everything else is just orange or, you know, a little bit of red, a little bit of pink, depending on which shades you're using. So yeah, while these have top tier, just the toppest of tiers, shimmer shades like this one that I almost destroyed, this Mirage shade right here in the middle, and this sparkly pink is really nice too. I wouldn't actually use this, and besides the couple of times that I did reach for it when I first got it, I haven't really used this, which is actually why I made the effort to use it today in this look right here. Look at it. Wow. So yeah, crisis averted, but this is a pretty palette. Just not something that I would count as a everyday useful palette for me. Now we're on to number 3. Number 3 is really only here because it has matte shades that I would use over the Soleil. That's literally the only reason. And it's the Meraki palette. Not only is this like one of my most used palettes from last year because I use it on my sister all the time, and then I use like the 2 shades that I always use from in this palette, but this is a really good one. Let me read my thing though. This is a spectacular neutral palette. Oof. And honestly, if the shimmers were more sparkly, this would be the top palette for the versatility alone. This palette goes from lightest of light to darkest of dark shades, and also includes my favorite mauve shade. So honestly, if the shimmers were banging, this would rival first place. And honestly, that's what I was saying. Like, if the shimmers in here were amazing, like how, well, these are all like depotable, so they, you know, they can be amazing if I actually wanted to move stuff around and put all of my favorite things into here, because, okay, this is the problem last time, so I'm just gonna move that first. I don't use this entire top row. I didn't even touch it because I'm not the skin tone for this, so no. All of these basically look white, so unless I'm trying to lighten up a shade, like use this lighter pink to make this pink lighter, which why would I do that, because this is already kind of light, you know? Like, there was no real use for this until me swatching it, and I didn't even know that I had this orange in here. For some reason I registered that as brown. That's orange. The more you know, rainbow. Anyways, the whole thing is that I could remove the shades that I don't use from here, like that entire top row and clearly these 3 right here, because I don't use most of the shades in here besides, you know, this mauve shade down. So they could have better shimmers in here if I moved them around, but as a palette, as itself, as something that I couldn't change, this is only 3rd. And primarily because, like I said, I really only use the bottom row here, and then for my sister I use this shimmer and this shimmer. Yeah, primarily this one over here, but this is the deepening one. This one came broken. I didn't even really use that. That's apparently purple. I thought it was brown. But yeah, see, this is where swatches come in handy, because I didn't even know what some of these colors were, even if, you know, I had the palette and used the palette. Obviously you don't use every single shade, so the swatches were nice to do because now I actually know what these look like. But yeah, this right here, this whole section of these pinky purples, this pink, this is a nice shimmer actually. Just these shimmers aren't sparkly. Like, you see how this is catching the light? Like, this is like a plain shimmer, not a shimmer. Now, second place, this is the palette that got me into looking at Lorac. The first place is the reason why I actually wanted everything, because I was like, all of those colors, yes, give it to me. But this, Fairy Tale Forest, is the reason why I got into Lorac, because so many people were swatching this palette specifically because they were like, oh my god, guys, Lorac is... I was gonna say Lorac is black. They are not. Carol is not black. Lorac is back. And I was like, okay, good for them. Then I saw swatches and I was like, oh, I want. And I got all of these, by the way, I got for free. Not free, because, you know, the Meraki I paid for, it was half off. But then it came dented, so I got it for free because they sent me my money back. And then the rest of these I got with points. So, you know, it's not free, but I got it for free. Yay. This is a spectacular palette. This I could use literally every single shade in here and be fine. because really I only need a matte to like set my eyes because my eyes are oily. I don't really need it for color, but if I did want color, we have an orange, we have like a burgundy, sort of purple red. We have this shade, which I used all over today, and that's kind of a grayish mauve color, and my skin is like pink, so mauves look good on me. And then we have this gray shade over here, which I actually really like. I don't know what it does to my eyes, like maybe because my eyes already has that like sort of grayish tone to it. But I put this in my eye socket and we're good. We have this is a whole pink row right here, like this is a mauve central right here, and then you know the lighter ones. This brown is fine, but it's very light, and these other two are just light. All the shimmers are amazing. This one got some hard pan, but it's a nice sparkly pink, and these greens are nice. They just they're light, like lighter than they are here. Like this is the same sort of color, but it's just lighter. Like you'd think they'd be darker. But yeah, let's read what I wrote actually. Well, this is the palette that got me interested in Lorac. This is also a palette with limits. There's a lot of versatility with the colors, but there aren't really a lot of deeper colors. And if this didn't have my favorite sparkly pink shade, it wouldn't even be this high. Granted, it would have only been third, but the shimmers that I can use as one and dones are what bring this palette over the top of Meraki. Although in my mind, it's only by a small margin, and that's true, because like I said, with the Meraki palette, I actually like that palette the best. Like, of all the ones that I think of and use, it's actually that one. But if we're doing it based off the criteria of this is the only palette out of all of these I could use, no, because I barely use any of the shimmers in there. Like, my main look when I first got these palettes was this pink shimmer. Where, I forgot it's a duochrome. I'm like, where is it? It's kind of gold when I look at it this way, but yeah, next to the green, there we go. This pink shimmer, that mauve shade in the Meraki palette, and that the darker mauve shade next to it. That was the look every single day that I used these palettes. It was just nothing else. Like, even though I have literally all of this to work with, I never used any of it. So it's not even like, oh, I would use this palette over that one, because they're basically the same for me. They're in the same sort of realm. But given the fact that I don't necessarily need those mattes, I just do use them. This one is number 2 over number 3. And if you didn't know all of the palettes that existed, the last one and the first one and the number 1 in the ranking is the Noir palette. Yes, this is the only one really that this shimmery thing works with, because it's a similar color to the black. The other ones you can see the name immediately, so I don't really get why they did that. But yeah, this palette is amazing. I primarily ranked, okay, this one, it doesn't really bend back as far as the other ones do. I don't really get what that's about. Anyways, this one right here, right? You'd think me, a lover of neutrals and just washes of sparkle, why the darkest palette? Why? And this is primarily because of all of the mattes. You're probably seeing the swatches right now over my face, so you probably already see it. These swatches are amazing. And honestly, looking at the matte swatches, it reminded me of a Dior palette that I wanted. Like, I didn't actually want it. It was just more, it was aesthetically pleasing, and I was like, oh, that's cute. And now I don't even have to think about that, because now I notice that I have this. So yeah, that's the primary reason why it outranks every single palette, because it has everything that I technically use on a daily basis and would need to use if I was going to do something. Like, if this is the only palette that I could use for a month and I had to do an everyday look, a glam look, and a, like, I don't know, disco look or something, I don't freaking know. It's not a lot of looks, and I don't go a lot of places, but I have all of the mattes that I would need to use. We have 3 different browns, a black, that burgundy shade that I was telling you about. That can be lighter or darker depending on what you blend it with. We have a white if we want to brighten something up. This is dirty right now because I didn't clean my hand when swatching the shimmers when I was doing swatches. So like ignore that, but this is white. Not that it looks that way, but this is white, and it is the type of shimmer that I would use all over as a inner corner thingy like I did here. So given that fact, it has that. It has other shimmery neutral shades, and then we get into the actual like purples and deep blues and all those sparkly colors. So yeah, it literally has every single thing that I would use on a daily basis, and even if I had to do something that was out of a daily basis, we have other options. I wouldn't just have to do super light looks or super dark looks. It's versatile. So it's basically the best of the best because it's literally like the Meraki palette, but it also has some good shimmers instead of just dull ones. And honestly, you probably saw it in there, but I actually have dips in the mattes in here. So like, even though I use the Meraki palette a lot, I clearly use this one a lot too. So yeah. Did I even read the thing for Noir? I did not. Okay, let me read that first. Where can I begin? First off, this was the second palette that caught my eye, so it had to be somewhere at the top. And it's a neutral palette with everything I use on the daily. Even though the palette is heavy on the purple side, there are subtle pops of color and variety. And it is the only palette I could see myself using consistently without having to grab another palette. It also helps that there's a Fenty Diamond Balm shade in there, because that's really all I need for it to be good to go. So yeah, literally every single thing that I said except more concise and less muttering. So yeah, that was my ranking. Those are all of the palettes that I own, and I don't think I'm gonna get any more because the little palettes that they have, even though they look nice and neat, they're not depotable, so it's kind of pointless to get it when I can't really switch out anything. Like, they're cute, and if they ever go on sale, maybe, but I don't know, if you can't really depot it like you can with these, then it doesn't really make any sense to get similar colors to the bigger palettes just because they're smaller, because they're all the same size shadows. But yeah, that's my video. Do you like it? Do you have any of these palettes? Do you like any of these palettes? Where would you rank these for after seeing the swatches and what I said about them? But anyways, that brings us to the end of the video. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good jazz. Tell me anything you want down below about these Lorac palettes, former Lorac palettes, because I never tried any of them. If you like any of these, if you wanted any of these, do you like my swatches? Did I do a good job? Because it was such a hassle. My arm like physically hurt by the last one. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, do all that good jazz, and I will see you in another video. Bye.